to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast, the longest-running Miami Dolphins podcast on the internet.
We're always in control, and when you say Miami, you're talking to my ball. Cause we're the Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins #1.
Hello, Miami Dolphins fans. How are you today? And thank you for listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast on this Saturday, January the 10th. I am your host, Mike Oliva. Yes, the NFL playoffs start today, but we're not here to talk about that because there is an absolute ton of news regarding the Miami Dolphins right now. News is literally breaking by the minute, so I want to do this show. I want to go over everything that's broke pretty much since last night. There's been a ton of stuff that's broke this morning. With this head coach opening, there's been news on Troy Aikman and his role with the Dolphins not ending, as well as just so much stuff. So buckle up. We got a newsworthy show. And oh yeah, the Miami Dolphins are interviewing their first head coach candidate today. That's right, today. It was just announced moments ago. But before we get to any of that, as always, this show is brought to you by Caneswear. Everyone go to the website caneswear.com for the best and most affordable Miami Dolphins apparel on the internet. If you need anything with the Miami Dolphins logo, a hat, hoodie, jersey, t-shirt, something for the home, something for the office, something for the car, go to caneswear.com. They got the best and most affordable prices on the internet. And if you need stuff for the Miami Hurricanes, who are playing for a national championship at Hard Rock Stadium. Think about this. The Miami Hurricanes are playing for a national championship at Hard Rock Stadium in about a week. Go to caneswear.com. They're going to have you covered with all the gear, the championship gear that you need from them. They got stuff for the Heat, the Marlins, as well as your Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. Caneswear.com, Caneswear.com, Caneswear.com. Also located in South Florida, 2655 South University Drive in Davie. Tell them Mike from Dolphins Talk sent you. Also, shout out to everyone watching at the I Am a Miami Dolphins fan Facebook page, run by the great Carlos Hernandez. If you're on Facebook, please be sure you are a part of the I Am a Miami Dolphins Facebook page. And if you're watching me right now live on YouTube, I see a ton of you watching me right now live. If you're watching me live on YouTube, do me a favor. Smash that like button right now. Get it out of the way. Get it out of the way. Smash that like button. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And super chats are open. That's right. I'm flying solo. I need someone to talk to. If you send me a super chat, I will show it on the screen and read it on the air at some point during the show. It's also the best way to support our channel and website and what we do here at DolphinsTalk.com. All right, so let me start first with the Troy Aikman news that broke today. From Barry Jackson of the Miami Herald, he's reporting that Troy Aikman will stay on with the Miami Dolphins in an advisory role as the Miami Dolphins are searching for their next head coach. He will stay on and advise the team in a similar fashion throughout this process like he did when Miami was looking for a general manager and they brought him on as a consultant, pretty much advisory, consultant, same type of deal. He's going to sit in on the interviews as Miami looks to find their next head coach. The first interview is happening today. It might be happening right now as I speak. I'll talk about that in a minute. Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated, he said on the Rich Eisen show on Friday that Troy Aikman really likes John Eric Sullivan. And it sounds like Troy's opinion carried a lot of weight there in making that hire of John Eric Sullivan as Miami's general manager. So that's from Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated. He was really on board with John Eric Sullivan in that hiring. Troy was on a radio station in Dallas yesterday, Friday, and this was before the Miami Dolphins announced the hiring of John Eric Sullivan. Troy Aikman, and this is from, once again, the Miami Herald and Barry Jackson. I want to give them all the credit. Make sure you're subscribed to the Miami Herald to read the work of Barry Jackson and, of course, Omar Kelly. Troy Aikman talked about how he ended up taking the role with the Dolphins. And I quote, a few weeks ago, I got a message from someone that I didn't recognize the number. And apparently one of the people with the Miami Dolphins had reached out to a number of people wondering who might be a good fit for them to help them in their GM search. Troy said, and my name came up a few different times. So they reached out and asked if I would be a part of it. This was a few weeks back. And I told them I would. I went into it at that time, and I'm here in Miami now. And I'm doing some in-person interviews and zeroing in on a couple candidates. Remember, he said this prior to the announcement of John Eric Sullivan. Zeroing in on a couple candidates that we really like. And I'm really excited about, excuse me, I have a little cough. And I'm really excited about this process. I think at first I wanted to make sure I could provide them with what they were hoping for. I could. And I had some thought and I jumped into it, talked to some more people, and I became more and more confident that I could. So off we went, and it's been great. So we'll see where, and here's a key word. So we'll see where this might go, but I really enjoyed it. And then he spoke about working with Dan Marino. It's been a long time since they've won a playoff game. It's been 25 years. And when you're as old as what we are, you do remember those years, or at least I certainly do, from when I was playing with Marino. And by the way, I had a chance to connect with him over the last couple of days, and he's always been my favorite quarterback, which has been really great. Got the chance to spend time with him. So Troy Aikman's going to stay on as a consultant. Here's the deal, folks. If Tom Brady can be part owner and work for Fox, there is not any reason Troy Aikman cannot stay with the Miami Dolphins in some capacity, whatever title you want to give him, and he can still work for ESPN. Tom Brady's an owner, okay? And I know he doesn't meet with the teams prior to the games, that he's not allowed to. Same thing for Troy. If Troy likes this, if Troy enjoys this, then there is no reason why he cannot stay on with the Dolphins. Getting breaking news as I speak. Sorry, folks. Dolphins are setting up. They reached out for another head coach can. Okay, we'll get to that in a second. So once again, sorry, the news is breaking so fast as I'm live, just trying to navigate all this. But yeah, so Troy Aikman, he will stay on for the head coach search and sit in on those interviews and give his feedback. The one thing Troy has preached in this process, once again, from Albert Breer, alignment. And that's probably why Mike McDaniel was fired. You need to have your general manager, you need to have your head coach on the same page. You can't have, well, we'll hire a new GM. We'll give Mike one more year, and if he stinks, we'll move on. No. That doesn't work in the NFL. That's a mistake Miami has made forever. Fire the GM, keep the head coach. Keep the head coach, fire the GM. And you're forcing marriages. It's like an arranged marriage. It doesn't work. You got to get two guys on the same page. The NFL is about relationships, and that's what is needed. So Troy Aikman staying on. Miami Dolphins are starting their interview process today. And they're starting it today with Clint Kubiak, the offensive coordinator of the Seattle Seahawks. NFL insider Jordan Schultz reports the Miami Dolphins are interviewing Clint Kubiak today. Now look, here's the deal with Kubiak. He's one of the hottest head coaching candidates right now on the market. Every team wants this guy, okay? And here's why he's going to meet with Miami today. And this is a virtual interview because Seattle is the 1 seed on a bye. And then you have in the NFC. Then in the AFC, you got the Denver Broncos, who's the 1 seed on a bye. If you don't meet with them now, virtually, then you're allowed, should they make the Super Bowl, to meet with them in person on the week in between the AFC or the NFC Championship game and the Super Bowl. So you got to get the first interview out of the way now. Otherwise, you're going to be waiting until after the Super Bowl if they make it. So if you want to get the first interview out of the way, so if you want the second interview, the week in between the championship games and the Super Bowl, you can then meet with them in person and really speed along this process. So that's why Clint Kubiak is meeting with them today. Do not be shocked if we hear that they meet with Vance Joseph today or tomorrow. Right now, that's not been reported, but we know Miami's very high on Vance Joseph from the time he spent here previously with Adam Gase, and they like him. I know you as fans probably don't want him, but if they're going to do the interview, it's smart to just do it now. Get it done virtually out of the way. So then if they do want to meet him in person, they can, should they make the Super Bowl. He is 38 years old, Clint Kubiak. He is the son of, obviously, former NFL player and head coach Gary Kubiak. He was a head coach with Houston and the Broncos. Clint Kubiak, again, one of the hottest names out there. He spent time with the Broncos, Vikings, 49ers, Saints, and now with Seattle. He's been the offensive coordinator in the past for the Vikings, currently with Seattle. Right now, this season, here's all you got to know about Clint Kubiak, why everyone wants him. In Seattle this year, with Sam Darnold as your quarterback. Let me say that again. With Sam Darnold as your quarterback, Seattle's offense was ranked 3rd overall in points scored, top 10 in total offense, top 10 in passing offense, and 11th in rushing offense. with Sam Darnold. Hello. That's why everyone wants this guy. If you can make magic in Seattle with Sam Darnold, you're going to get head coaching interviews. Again, does it remind me a little bit of Adam Gase, a little bit of Mike McDaniel? Yes. Career assistant, career coordinator. Well, not a career coordinator, but just an assistant coach, offensive mind. Is he cut out to be a head coach? Who knows? Some guys are, some guys are. Just because we whiffed on McDaniel and we whiffed on Adam Gase doesn't mean every person who's been an offensive coordinator who becomes a head coach will fail. That doesn't mean that, but you're kind of going down the same road you've already gone down before with this. So we'll see. Again, if they hired him, is he at the top of my personal wish list? Which, again, I know nobody cares about my personal wish list. But is he at the top of it? No. But if they hired him, I'm not going to be stomping mad either, because I get it. He's a hot name. The other one that's come through, and special thanks to Josh Katzker, who just sent me a text, because once I'm live here, I can't monitor social media. So thank you, Josh. Same old Dolphin show, Josh and Aaron. Be sure to check that out here on the network. From Ian Rappaport, the Miami Dolphins have put in a request to interview San Francisco 49ers defensive coordinator Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh, former head coach of the Jets. Now, he does check the box. Former head coach, which is nice. That's what I think that right now, that's what a lot of fans want. They want someone who's been a head coach before. And trust me, I get it, folks. I get it. I want someone who's been a head coach before. Here's the deal with Saleh. Again, my personal wish list. Boy, that's tough for me to say today. My personal wish list. He ain't at the top, because I live up here in the Northeast, so I'm surrounded by the Yes Network and SNY. So I get a lot of Jets coverage, a lot of Giants coverage, which sometimes when you're flipping through, you watch. Robert Saleh is a little bit like Mike McDaniel, not personality-wise. He's the opposite personality-wise. Problem is, on a Sunday walking that sideline, Robert Saleh's going to lose a lot of challenges. He's not going to make any halftime adjustments, and he's just a bad game day coach. Now, he's going to act like a grown-ass man when he talks to the media. He's going to act like a grown-ass man when he talks to the team. So he's not like Mike in that way. This is a grown-ass man. He ain't playing no freaking games. But on Sundays, this is the most important part of the job. When you're walking that sideline and you're coaching a team, you got to be good at that. And that's where Robert Saleh loses me. That's where I'm all out on Robert Saleh. So, once again, not the top of my personal wish list, but Miami, from Ian Rappaport, has reached out. And they're looking to get permission. Now, San Francisco, what do they play? They play Sunday, I believe, right? Yeah, Sunday. So we'll see if they win or lose this week. If they lose, then I'm sure they're going to say, yeah, sure. Look, they'll let him interview for this job. It's just a matter of when. If they lose, then he's free all next week. If they win, then they're going to have to figure out the time. And I'm not sure what the rule is around that. Again, everyone, if you're watching on YouTube, smash that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Super chats are open. If you send me a super chat, we got a ton of comments. I can't get to them all on the show. If you send me a super chat, I promise I will read it on the show. You guys get priority. There's just so many comments coming in. I can't read them all, but super chats are open. Also, make sure you're signed up for Dolphins Talk Extra. Patreon.com/DolphinsTalk. It's only $3 a month, and we give out great we have extra podcasts, some about the Dolphins, some not. We have a private message board that's way better than social media. We have contests where we give away cool prizes like autograph helmets of Cam Wake and Jarvis Landry, autograph jerseys like Mercury Morris and stuff like that. And we have so much more happening. Patreon.com/DolphinsTalk. $3 a month. Can't beat the price. Check it out. The other news from Diana Russini of The Athletic is that the Miami Dolphins are expected to reach out to Kevin Stefanski to set up an interview with him this week. And I will admit, sign me up for Kevin Stefanski any day of the week. His overall record as a head coach, you have to ignore. It is 45-56, but he's a two-time NFL Coach of the Year with Cleveland. He won NFL Coach of the Year twice with Cleveland. And if you're not down with that, he even won a playoff game in Cleveland when the Browns beat Pittsburgh in 2020. Now, there is a little asterisk next to that, as in that playoff game versus Pittsburgh, he wasn't on the sideline. He had COVID, So because he had COVID, he couldn't coach the game, but that's his team. His team won a road playoff game. I give him credit for that. Do not read much into the losing record. Like I said, Cleveland has run so poorly, and they messed up the quarterback situation. Not him, the owner did. When they ran off Mayfield, then they chased Watson, and they gave Watson a crazy contract. So I do not hold a lot of the failures in Cleveland. Put it this way, he won way more games in Cleveland than he should have. And this guy's, head coach experience, 2-time coach of the year, it checks that box that a lot of fans of the Miami Dolphins want. And before he took the job with the Browns in 2020, he spent his entire NFL time with the Vikings as an assistant head coach, tight ends coach, running backs coach, quarterbacks coach, and then their offensive coordinator. The guy knows offense, and if you're the Dolphins, who are looking to acquire their starting quarterback of the future, whether in this draft, 2026, or the next draft in 2027, Kevin Stefanski's a pretty damn good head coach to sort of groom that guy, bring him along. Look what he did this year with Shedeur Sanders. Now, yeah, we all know the whole thing with Sanders, a little bit messy and stuff. When he played at the end of the year, was he great? No, but for what he got out of him, and even games he won with him, it just shows you give this guy a young quarterback, he knows how to mold him, and he knows how to get him ready long-term. So Kevin Stefanski, would be awesome. And the only thing I don't know if they would go with Stefanski is this. Usually, a general manager is going to hire a head coach or someone he has worked with previously, someone he knows, like Greer knew Brian Flores for many years and stuff like that. You hire usually someone that you know or someone that you've worked with. And I don't know. I'm guessing no, that John Eric Sullivan hasn't ever worked with, or might not even know, Stefanski, because John Eric Sullivan has been with the Packers since 2003, never left. And Stefanski was with the Vikings and then the Browns. I don't see where they have sort of crossed paths. Now, that doesn't mean anything, because he might meet with him in an interview and be like, you're my best friend now. We think just alike. And next thing you know, they're like, gelling. But remember what I said earlier in this podcast, Troy Aikman, who Miami is clearly listening to, has preached alignment. This whole time, alignment. Get the head coach, general manager on the same page. And if you're thinking alignment, if that's the way they're going, maybe someone with no ties to John Eric Sullivan might not be likely. I'm not saying it's impossible, because we're going to talk about Harbaugh next. That might not be impossible, but I'm just saying it might be like, if we're putting odds on this stuff, I wouldn't have Kevin Stefanski as like one of the top 2 or 3 favorites. But I think once again, he could win them over in the interview. That's why you hold the interviews, so the guy can win over the people he is chatting with. So we'll see what happens there. But again, just the fact Miami's talking to him is a good thing. Be happy, because I would be very happy if they hired him as a head coach. John Harbaugh. And I see we got a super chat on it. Patrick, I'll get to it in a second. Adam Schefter of ESPN reports that on yesterday, the Miami Dolphins finalized its agreement with John Eric Sullivan. And once that was finalized, they then reached out to John Harbaugh to let him know they're interested in him. What are the Miami Dolphins doing? They're not running a sloppy shop. They are dotting every I. They are crossing every T. They want to make sure they ain't getting their hand slapped this time, and they're not going outside the process. They don't want to seem like they're messy. They don't want to be cutting any corners. They don't want to be breaking any rules, because you have to think back the first time they went after Jim Harbaugh, Ross, he didn't fire Tony Sparano, and everyone's like, how can you do that? You're just, you're a clown. You don't know what you're doing. This is sloppy. This is messy. And then they get caught tampering years later for Tom Brady and Sean Payton. And then Ross is suspended by the league for half a season, and Miami's losing draft picks. And it's a messy, sloppy shop. The Dolphins clearly do learn their lesson. They don't want to get fined. They don't want to get warned. They don't want to be told you're breaking rules. They are making it crystal clear. Now, are they telling the truth? I have no idea. But they are putting out the perception that crystal clear, and reaching out to the Miami Herald and reaching out to Jeff Darlington and now Adam Schefter. This is the timeline. We did this, we did that, then we did this. Now, did Miami reach out to, or did someone reach out to Harbaugh's agent, Tuesday night or Wednesday? I don't know. Probably. But they are just saying, no, we didn't. Here's the order we're doing this. And I think because you got someone like Troy Aikman involved, it gives a little bit of credibility to the process they're running, that everything's above board, everything's being done right, everything's honest, and no one's really going to come after Miami here. Albert Breer, he's reported, and this just changed about 5 minutes ago, that 7 teams currently have interest in John Harbaugh. And I just saw a report from Rossini that Cleveland has now officially reached out. So 8 teams have officially reached out for John Harbaugh. And I think this leads to our super chat here. Let me read this from Patrick McMullen. Patrick, you're the best, Mr. Mullen. Patrick Mullen. He's also a member of Dolphins Talk Extra. Sign up so you can interact with Patrick. Smart dude. I think the only real candidates for Harbaugh right now are Atlanta, Giants, and Miami. Atlanta would have to restructure what they did with Matt Ryan to get him. New York Giants would have to fire their GM. What do you think? I don't think the Giants have to fire their GM. I think they would just tell John Harbaugh, you tell the GM what to do, and he's going to follow your orders. I don't think he needs his own GM in place. I just think he needs to have more power than the GM, or he's got veto power over Joe Schoen, number one. Atlanta, Matt Ryan's not the GM. If they hire Chad Alexander, then I think Harbaugh is going to look there very, very, very seriously. So that's why I think Atlanta's in play, but they'd have to hire Chad Alexander probably. Giants, Atlanta, Miami, it's just if he can work with John Eric Sullivan, and who's going to have final say on things is that. Thank you, Patrick, for the super chat. Folks, like I said, super chats are open. We got one here, no comment, from Cyber Honey. Thank you just for the little donation. Breer said, 7 teams, now 8 teams are in play. He says he thinks Harbaugh's not going to meet with every team. That's just, he's not. He thinks he's only going to meet with 4. And these 4, no special order, are the Titans, Falcons, Miami, and the Giants. Okay. Miami, Titans, Falcons, Miami, and the Giants. That's what Albert Breer thinks. And to sort of back that up, Diana Rossini today reported that this weekend, John Harbaugh is breaking down film of Jackson Dart and Cam Ward. Why? Because, why would you want to go to the Giants? Why would you want to go to the Titans? Because you got a young quarterback in place, and that's one less thing you have to worry about. And FYI, that's the most important thing you got to worry about. So this weekend, it's being reported from Diana Rossini that Harbaugh is watching film of Jackson Dart and Cam Ward. Dart had a very good rookie season. Cam Ward, second half of the year, came on really, really well and looked really good. Which, if you read between the lines, if Harbaugh is looking for a team with a young quarterback in place, then Miami's done. They got no chance. Okay? They just don't. And don't tell me Quinn Ewers, folks. Not. He's looking for guys with a first-round pick who started pretty much all year, and there's a sample size. Quinn Ewers in 3 games, that don't count. It's not the same. But, those are just maybe 2 of the teams he's interested in. Let him get a head start there. As I've said, and I won't go through it again here, what Miami has to offer is simple. More money than anyone else and power. In that power, I don't mean, maybe you give him veto power over John Eric Sullivan if John Eric Sullivan's okay with that. But I'm not even saying that. I mean, John, you coach, you're 63. You want to coach to your 70 or so? Fine. Coach to your 69, 70, 71. Then when you retire, you got a front office job waiting for you here. You move your family down here. You're the coach for 6, 7, 8 years or however long you want to coach. And then the day you don't want to coach anymore, you move to a front office job, kind of like what the Heat did with Pat Riley. Pat, you come to the Heat, you coach as long as you want. When you're done coaching, you run the show. And that's what you sell Harbaugh. That's what you sell Harbaugh. That's what you sell him. He's going to want some power, some control. It's just really how much. Because here's the deal. Chad Alexander might not get a general manager role this year. So if he's looking at the Titans, who have a GM they just hired last year, if you're looking at the Giants, they already have a GM they're not going to let go, it sounds like. Miami just hired a guy. Atlanta has to hire someone. Who knows who they're going to – so he might be looking at all of his options. They're like, general managers, I don't know. So who's going to pay me the most? Which team has the best sort of quarterback type of situation? And where am I going to get a little bit of power? Where maybe he goes, okay, John Eric Sullivan, you were on the draft, you do that. But on the 53-man roster, I decide who's cut. I decide who stays. Like, he gets power over the 53-man roster, which is totally fair for a head coach, especially one with his resume. So that might be the thing with Harbaugh, but they have officially reached out to John Harbaugh. Let me say this one more time. And we've got our super chat here from Cyber Honey. Is it Harbaugh or a bust for the Dolphins? No, it's not. John Harbaugh comes here. Awesome. That's a great hire. Best head coach we've had since Jimmy Johnson. Like, not even close. Awesome. If he doesn't, life goes on. There's a lot of good candidates out there, which I'm going to talk about next. And we already talked about a few. Clint Kubiak, Robert Saleh, and, of course, Kevin Stefanski. I got a few more I'm going to talk about next. We're being linked to Miami. I know there's fans out there, and I see a few here in our chat. I don't want Harbaugh. He's overrated. Blah, blah, blah. Folks, as I've been saying on these shows this week, if you don't want him, who? You're not going to get someone with a better resume. Won a Super Bowl. Won the AFC North 6 times. Went to the AFC Championship game 4 times. Has an overall record of 180 and 113. In the playoffs, 13-11. Got an over 500 record in the playoffs. All the man does is win, and he wins a lot. He is a Hall of Fame head coach. And if the Dolphins got him, it would be huge. You're getting a Hall of Fame head coach. It would be huge. So anyone nitpicking this sounds like kind of an idiot. I'm not going to lie. And I'm sorry. I'm not trying to hurt anyone's feelings. You kind of sound like a moron if you're going to nitpick the hiring of John Harbaugh. Okay? And I'll say this too. Mike McCarthy, who I'm about to talk about next, and let me just get to the McCarthy one now, is another name who has pretty much the identical resume of John Harbaugh. He's got an over 600 winning percentage, like Harbaugh. He's 62 games over 500. John Harbaugh's 70 games over. They literally they each won a Super Bowl. They each finish in first or second in their respective divisions, pretty much each year. They're like the same guy. And for some reason, John Harbaugh is looked at as a savior, and Mike McCarthy is looked at as a clown. They have the same resume. They win at the same rate. They both won Super Bowls. If you like one, you should like the other. I get it. Nobody wants McCarthy. I don't know why. Maybe he's fat and people don't like fat people. I don't know. It makes no sense to me. The winning percentage is the same. The resume is virtually the same. They are one and the same. So I don't know if John Eric Sullivan, he was with the Packers when Mike McCarthy was there. He was low level at that point, but he worked his way up. I'm sure he knows them and stuff like that. I don't know if they'll have interest in Miami. It's probably worth an interview. What do you got to lose? But, and even with the Cowboys, people talk about Mike McCarthy with the Cowboys. He was so bad with the Cowboys. He won like 12 games back-to-back seasons with them. Let me see here. No. Sorry, doing this real quick here. Mike McCarthy. His time in Dallas, people talk like it was like the worst team in the world. His time in Dallas. Okay, he had 3 seasons in a row where they won 12 games. 6-10 first year. You're coming in, got to clean it up. 12-5 first place. 12-5 second place. 12-5 first place. And his last year was 7-10. So, yeah, the first year was bad. The last year was 12-5 3 years in a row. If you're a Dolphins fan, you wouldn't want 12-5 3 years in a row. You cut off your pinky finger to get 12-5 3 years in a row. People are like, I don't want him. What are you, nuts? You out of your freaking mind? I'd walk to Miami to help him move just to get down there. So, yeah, there's that. Another super chat, Patrick Mullen. Thanks, Patrick. No Shanahan cult first-timers, Mike. Yeah, trust me, I get it. And, again, not top my list. Not top my list. But again, if they do go down that road, I'm not going to also be like stomping mad over it. There's like only a few guys that I really don't want. And one of them I'll mention, which kind of scares me because I think he's a wild card here who might get this job. And I'll mention that here in a minute. But there's not a lot. The names that are out there, even the first timers, they don't scare me. There's guys, I'll tell you right now, names that scare me. Cliff Kingsbury. I want nothing to do with Cliff Kingsbury. I pray they don't even meet with Cliff Kingsbury. He scares me. The guy had a losing record in college. He's lost in Arizona. I want nothing to do with Cliff Kingsbury. He's got the arrogance of Adam Gase. I want nothing to do with that type of guy again. That's the name that scares me. Okay, some of these other names, they don't really scare me. I might not be thrilled. Like even Vance Joseph. I'm not thrilled if they ever hired Vance Joseph. Trust me, I'm not thrilled. But I'd be open-minded enough to give it a shot. I'm not going to be, oh, he sucks. Just write him off the first day. I ain't doing that with that. even Weaver a little bit kind of scares me. I don't want nothing to do with, and I don't think they're going to hire Weaver after this. They've clearly cleaned house. I don't think Weaver's staying. I think, part of the problem got to go. But yeah, there's names that scare me. Let's get to some of the other candidates that are being linked to Miami. And if you today on January 10th put a gun to my head, I'd say, why are you putting a gun to my head? But if you were doing that, the clubhouse leader is Jeff Hafley, who is the Green Bay Packers defensive coordinator and the former head coach of Boston College. He is, once again, one of these guys like Clint Kubiak, red hot assistant coaches this hiring cycle. Many expect him to get a head coaching job. Again, not a head coach in the NFL before, but he was a head coach at Boston College, which at the time was a Power 5 school, now a Power 4 school. And during his time as head coach there, he led them to 3 bowl games. His overall record's under 500, but he had them to but that's because of one season that was awful. But he led them to 3 bowl games, or they were eligible to go to 3. 1 year they couldn't because of the pandemic. You know what I mean? Okay, they were eligible to go to 3 bowl games. And here's the deal. When people say, oh, Boston College sucks, who cares? Boston. Do you know how hard it is in this era of college football to have any success at a school like Boston College? It's not Florida State. It's not Florida. It's not LSU. It's not, it's not Michigan, Ohio State, Georgia. They put, at a school like Boston College, they put zero thought and zero money into the football program. And in this era we're in of NIL and all that stuff, where it's just about money and how much money you can spend and how much money you can raise and what is your NIL collective, which it's essentially a big, I don't want to say that phrase. It's the more you got, the more you win. To go to a school like Boston College where he has no resource, and plus it's Boston College, they can't just let anyone in. You got to have like high SAT scores and stuff. Like you got to hit certain academic standards to have any success there. Any success shows you how good of a coach he is, because there's a ceiling at a school like Boston College, and you're playing Clemson, you're playing Miami, Florida State, Virginia Tech when he was there was good. You got like these powerhouses who are spending, hundreds of millions almost on their football program. You go to Boston College, well, here's $5 million, make it work. You got no chance. He needed success there. So that doesn't scare me, anything that happened with him there. His first season with the Packers as a coordinator, on defensive coordinator, went well. The Packers ranked 3rd in points allowed, 6th in points per drive, 4th in EPA, and 5th in total defense. And they created the 3rd highest turnover rate in the league. And this year it's pretty much been very similar. He's only 46, so he can relate to the younger players. He's going to have a proven, experienced offensive coordinator, but with any coach you hire from that side of the ball on defense, you need a proven offensive coordinator. Once again, let me be clear. I don't want a first-time head coach. But if we have to, because that's all we can get, someone like Hafley, I'd be A-okay with. Not top of my list, but once again, not going to be stomping mad. Before I move on, everyone check out finheaven.com. Finheaven.com, largest Miami Dolphins message board on the internet. Wherever you're listening to this podcast, whether it's Apple Podcast, Spotify, Podbean, one of the other 100 platforms we're on, make sure you're subscribed. We're going to have shows pretty much probably every day of the week until we hire a head coach, and then we will get you pretty much every day of the week through free agency and the draft as well. So make sure you subscribe. And if you're watching me right now on YouTube, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. If you're watching me live, super chats are open. Send in super chats. I will read them on the air. Wild card. Well, not some wild card name. I guess the other interesting name right now for Miami is Matt LaFleur, the Packers' current head coach. And here's why. He has 1 more year left on his contract, which means you're a lame duck. And it's time for the Packers to either pay him or let him go, kind of, because you don't want to have a lame duck head coach, especially if you're the Packers of all the teams. That's not what you want. That's not how you operate. That's not how good teams operate, at least. So once their season's over, which could be tonight, if they lose to the Bears on Saturday night, it's expected they're going to sit down with him, and they're either going to have to pay him. And he's going to want between $12 and $15 million a year. And the Packers they're not cheap, but they're not known to pay head coaches that much. So they will either pay him And they do have a new team president, Ed Policy, the son of Carmen Policy. And there's been talks. He just wants to put his own stamp on the team now that he runs it, and he took it over from Murphy. And he might just, if they lose tonight, and if they lose really bad, he could be fired. And if he's fired, he's going to be your next head coach of the Dolphins. This conversation's over, and we're just wasting our time. They might pay him if they can come to terms on a contract. Great. Or maybe they don't want to pay him. Maybe they don't want to fire him, but they want to trade him. And you're sitting here with Miami. You got 5 picks in top 100. Not trading a first, not trading a second, but you got 3 picks in round 3. Maybe you see, hey, look, I'll send you a 3rd round pick. You guys part ways. And we'll take it from there. So let me see. We got more breaking news. Oh my God. Let's see here. Yeah, solid news. Let me see here. I think we got more breaking news here, folks. Unless someone in the chat's lying to me. Need to confirm it before I say it. Okay, they did. Okay. So Matt LaFleur, keep an eye on that, because even if they win this week and then they lose next week, it's still going to be the same thing unless Miami hires someone in between. Here's the breaking news, and folks, this one's kind of big. From Tom Pelissero of the NFL Network, the Miami Dolphins have requested an interview with Rams defensive coordinator Chris Shula. That's right, the grandson of Don Shula. The Dolphins want to interview Chris Shula. I'm all over the map on this one. Here's why I'm all over the map. I wrote an article a few months ago when I first heard Chris Shula is going to be up for head coaching job, because he's done an awesome job with the Rams. If you think Hafley's done a great job with the Packers, Shula's done equally as good with the Rams defense, if not maybe a little better. And I'm like, Shula in Miami, that's a ton of pressure. And that pressure might crush this poor kid in that role. I don't know if he wants that pressure. I don't know if he's up for that pressure. I don't know if that's healthy to have, because here's what I mean. It's not that he's going to ruin Grandpa's legacy. It's just the weight of the pressure. Like, oh, not like his like if they go 0-1, lose their first game, not like his grandpa. If they go 5-12 next year, clearly not his grandpa. I mean, it's like the pressure is going to be tremendous. I'm more open-minded to it now. I've evolved on this stance. And my stance is he knows what he's walking into. He knows what he's signing up for. If he wants to do it, that's up to him. So I don't know. I'm open to it. Chris Shula, again, he's going to need a proven, experienced offensive coordinator, first-time head coach, but it is a Shula, and this kid might be the real deal. Because you look at Shula's kids, Mike Shula, he's still in the league, or is he in the NFL still? I think he's with the Bills, or he's at South Carolina. I can't quite remember. I know he's bounced around. Mike Shula, not a great NFL coach per se. And then his other son, Dave Shula, Cincinnati All-Staff, really didn't go well. Sometimes it skips a generation. and I think Chris might be the real deal. But again, if Chris Shula went to the Ravens, or if Chris Shula went to the Tennessee Titans, I think he'd have a ton of success. He'd have his city, his team, his town. He can carve out his own niche. In Miami, it's always going to be Don Shula's grandson. And look, if he has success, that's awesome. It's a great story. Make a movie. You can make a Hallmark movie on it, okay? It's great. But that's a ton of pressure. And we'll see. They're going to talk with him, and that's kind of cool, though. Here's the wild card name. And again, last one here, and I'll wrap up. The wild card. And I said I didn't want a guy like Cliff Kingsbury. This is a guy I don't want either. But all these NFL insiders keep saying the name, and they're all like, keep an eye on this guy, keep an eye on this guy, keep an eye. This might be a guy. So they know something. They've heard something. Former Miami Dolphins linebackers coach, current Jacksonville Jaguars defensive coordinator, Anthony Campanelli. You're probably saying, Anthony Campanelli. Yeah, that's right. That's the guy on Hard Knocks a couple years back who dropped all the F-bombs, went on the tirade. If you're walking through the streets and someone's coming after your family, you're not going to stop you. You're going to go after that bleepity, 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 bleepity person, bleepity, bleep. And it was just cursing up a storm, gave him that speech. Some of the players were laughing. Some of the players looked like, here's the deal. I want nothing to do with Anthony Campanelli. He kind of reminds me, I don't want to say he's a meathead. He just kind of reminds me of like meathead football, old school, just not my cup of tea. Now look, he's done a great job with Jacksonville as their coordinator this year. He runs their defense. He spent 1 year with the Packers as their run game coordinator, linebackers coach. That's why you get the tie in with John Eric Sullivan. And I might be dead wrong. He kind of reminded me a little bit of Dan Campbell, which I know some people, oh yeah, Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell was, he handed away an NFC Championship game. His teams have gotten worse every year, kind of since he's been there since year one. Because from year one to year two, they improved, obviously. But, the past few years, it's getting worse to the point they missed the playoffs this year. And it's like, I think that type of attitude has a short shelf life in this NFL. Like, you can get a 2 or 3 year stretch with a guy who's just like so intense, so in your face, F-bomb nonstop, screaming and yelling. But that's not going to work over the course of 5, 6, 7 years where you're going to get long-term success. That's just my thought. Maybe I'm wrong. But Anthony Campanelli is worth mentioning because he's been linked to Miami. But yeah, they're starting today. Clint Kubiak, for those of you who missed the top of the show, Clint Kubiak is meeting with them today virtually. And there's that. Don't be shocked if they meet with Vance Joseph today or tomorrow virtually because their teams are on a bye. Have to meet with them today or tomorrow. Otherwise, you can't because their teams have a bye. So it's just by rules. So if you meet with them now virtually, then the week, if they make the Super Bowl, in between championship game and Super Bowl, then you can meet with them in person. So that's why you got to get their interviews out of the way first if you want to meet with them because the time frame there. With these other guys, you kind of meet with them when their season's over. Yes, Harbaugh you can meet with now. Stefanski you can meet with now. But when it comes to Shula, when it comes to Halfley, when it comes to these other guys, once their season ends, then you can meet with them kind of. Well, they can meet with a couple of these guys early next week, even if their teams win. Say like the Packers win, you can probably meet with Halfley early next week. There's like a small window, I think. Same thing with like Shula and some of the other ones. So the process has begun. Someone here, I'll read this question. Is this podcast on Apple Music? Well, by Apple Music, if you mean on Apple Podcast, yes, go to Apple Podcast. You can subscribe there. 5-star rating and a positive comment required. If you do leave a 5-star rating, it has to be 5 stars, and put a positive comment up, I'll read it on an upcoming show. But yes, we are on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Podbean, iHeartRadio. I have links on our website. We're on so many platforms. I can't even name them all. Podchaser, Musimax, Pod News. We're on Player FM. We're on TuneIn. We're on all these, pretty much every podcast network there is in audio form we're on. And of course on YouTube. So subscribe to anything. And of course, YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Smash that like button. And also hit the alert bell as well. So when we go live, then you can just jump right on here and join us in the chat. And we have a lot of fun. I'm working on a couple big things here. Like I can't even mention it. But if it pans out, this is going to be the podcast channel you're going to want for the Miami Dolphins. Trust me. Hopefully we'll know in a couple weeks. And trust me, you'll know when I know. You'll know because it's going to be announced and it's going to be kind of a big deal. So fingers crossed we can make that happen. But yeah, that's all for today's show. Look, news is breaking all the time. Now, tonight, I actually have plans tonight. I have to leave my house eventually. I've been doing shows all week, but I need a few hours out with some friends here tonight. So if news breaks tonight, I probably won't do another show till Sunday morning. But yeah, keep going to the website, DolphinsTalk.com, because when news breaks, we'll update the site. Social media follow us on all the platforms, Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads, Instagram, TikTok, at Dolphins Talk. Here we got someone here, Jackson. Thanks, Jackson. Mike is doing God's work. Yeah, it's been a lot. I did 2 shows on Thursday. Josh and Aaron did a show. So you got 3 podcasts here from us on Thursday. Yesterday, when they hired John Eric Sullivan, he did a show. I did a show today. That's not counting the shows I did earlier this week in the lead up every day. Nonstop podcasting. So again, if you're on Apple Podcast, 5-star rating, positive comment always helps. YouTube, smash a like button, subscribe. Smash a like button, subscribe. Smash a like button, subscribe. And just know on every show, super chats are open. If you leave a super chat, even if it's Josh and Aaron, they'll read it. I will read it. Super chats are the best. So please leave super chats on YouTube. but make sure you are following us. We don't lie to our audience. We don't spin every story positive. Like if they hire Cliff Kingsbury, I'm going to come on here and say, this sucks. He sucks. We made a mistake. Other shows are going to be like, oh, it's not that bad. And we got to give wishy-washy, spin everything to the positive. No, we give it to you straight. We give it to you, not just me, Tom, Josh, Aaron, and all the hosts here. We give it to you straight. We're fans of the Dolphins. We want to see a team win. And when they do something dumb, we're not afraid to say they did something dumb. It doesn't mean we're not a fan. It doesn't mean we're less of a fan. It just means we call it like it is. You get the straight truth with us, no spin. To quote someone who I don't even like, this is a no spin zone. No spin zone. So check us out at the website, on our social media. And thank you all for listening. Have a great Saturday. I'm sure I'll talk to you tomorrow on Sunday. And when you're out on the roads tonight, enjoying your Saturday, as always, please remember, we must put an end to highway profanity.